Hi, Nikhil. Hi, Nikhil.
नमस्कार 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 अभिषेक जी. Good afternoon, Professor Agarwal. Sir, you are on mute.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Somebody joked recently that in 2020, it became an international buzzword. You are on mute. So,
Or also, equivalently, you are not muted.
yes.
People talking about their personal things, and while they can, the mic.
I've seen several such videos where the people were caught on camera. Unfortunately, that's the advantage of work from home. So I think Mr. Singh is also there.
Yeah, he's there. His video was on. I think so. He just I saw some.
I think his office must have.
That's okay. That's okay. Still,
he should be.
I think somebody from the office must have connected. So we'll start.
No, it was Mr. Abhishek Singh was there himself.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. He'll be joining very soon.
Okay. So maybe as soon as he's there, then we can start. I think we are bang on time.
Sure.
Longer, I would love to come back and talk to you about some of the challenges you face when implementing. Tamil Nadu has done tremendous work also in COVID as well as in agriculture. So if you could talk about the implementation and your learnings.
Good afternoon, Abhishek ji.
Yeah, how are you?
I am doing fine. How are you doing?
I am good. I am good.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thanks a lot for joining today.
Yeah, thank you. So it's a pleasure.
Good afternoon, Abhishek.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
So we have 1 more minute to go, and then we'll start.
Sure.
Okay.
So certainly, is not a very good news today for the markets. 2,000 point, the markets have gone down.
Is it?
Yeah. Today was a terrible day.
Why? Is there a reason?
I think I'm still, though I understand a little bit of economics, but the US bond yields have gone up. So that's how and it's like practically fraction of a percent or 1.69%. So that leads to outflow of FDI and particularly emerging market feel less stress. It is always like somehow economy and market does not work in a tandem. When the whole world was facing trouble during the COVID time, there were liquidity in the market and the market was booming like crazy from 25,000 to 52,000 in few months. Now, so,
I see, double.
yeah.
Oversupply of money is a problem.
Yes, yes.
Well,
Yes, Ranjit, I think we can start. We are on 4 o'clock clock now.
Sure. So good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first inaugural webinar conducted by C3i Hub, IIT Kanpur. I would like to welcome our distinguished guest, Shri Abhishek Singh, CEO and MD Digital India Corporation, Professor Manjula Agrawal, who is Program Director for C3i Hub program, Dr. Nikhil Agrawal, CEO, First and C3i Hub, and all other invited guests. I would like to hand over to Dr. Nikhil Agrawal for his welcome speech, and then we'll follow the program accordingly.
Thank you, Ranjit. And I must extend very, very heartily welcome to Mr. Abhishek Singh, who is 95 batch IAS officer. Mr. Singh is being currently designated as a CEO for Digital India Corporation. He has been forefront for what you see today in Digital India. He has most of the things has happened. He is taking it forward during his tenure. Some of the most interesting things are happening, whether it's health ID, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's the new activity which are happening in Digital India. Certainly today Mr. Singh will share with us. Along with that, Mr. Singh is a proud alumni of IIT Kanpur. So certainly we're always delighted to see him back speaking with us and the other attendees. And then along with me, then I have my colleague, Professor Manindra Agrawal. Professor Agrawal is one of the most celebrated computer scientists of the country. At a very young age, he became the full professor at IIT Kanpur. Sometimes we joke with Professor Agrawal that he was born in IIT because he's done his BTech, MTech, PhD from IIT Kanpur and then become a professor here. He has been, some of his work is being considered among the best in the world. At a very young age, he got the first Infosys prize, and then the government of India honored him as a Padma Shri. Today, Professor Agrawal is leading the effort as a program director for the C3i Hub, which the full form is the complicated full form. So that's why we have cut it down shortly. It's called CyberSecurity and CyberSecurity of Cyber Physical System Innovation Hub. So for the people who are just trying to get their head around the cybersecurity, you can just say we are trying to safeguard the critical infrastructure of our country. Professor Agrawal will speak about more about our center and what the activities we are doing. Certainly, before we invite both the speakers to come on the stage, I will take a couple of minutes about telling more about IIT Kanpur. Though IIT Kanpur is one of the most respected and prestigious institution in the country, but there are certain facts and interesting facts about IIT Kanpur which a lot of people don't know. And since many of our attendees are joining from outside, it will be useful since, and many of them may apply to become the part of as our incubator. It will useful for them to see how's the campus look like and how's the campus life look like. So we are spread around 1,000 acres. We are the only campus in India where we have our own aerostrip inside the campus. So we have 6 gliders. In fact, the last evening I was speaking to my colleagues at SDFC Bank. He said the government allows, then I can take a glider from the IIT Kanpur airstrip and come down to Bombay, but maybe we have taken a small stop at Jaipur. So that's an advantage of IIT Kanpur, that aero. The other interesting facts is the computer science department, but the first setup at IIT Kanpur. And some of you may not know, but we have the IIT Kanpur alumni has played a very, very critical role in forming some of the best and biggest companies in the world. That includes the Google, Professor Rajiv Motwani, who was the professor of Larry and Sergey at Stanford when They both wrote their MS thesis. And of course, today the number of other alumni includes the Arvind Krishnan of IBM, and there is a host of others along with two stalwarts who are sitting here, Manindra and Abhishek. IIT Kanpur, not only in computer science that we are well known, we have done phenomenally well in other streams. Our biosciences department has been ranked #1. And you'll be very glad to know that our incubator, which is Technology Business Incubator, is now one of among the largest and the most successful business incubator. We are here, we are having a presence more than 20 years, very experienced people, very experienced mentors who are part of the TBI. Today we have 100+ companies in aeronautics, in biosciences, in health tech, in agri-tech, and now we are inviting companies in cybersecurity. Some advantage of being part of this ecosystem is other than the lab access that you get and the facilities that about the campus that you get, mentorship that you get, is that you will be getting a solid support in terms of technical assistance, in terms of monetary assistance. So the startups will be selected as a part of this ecosystem will get 50,000 rupees as salary support for 2 years, 10 lakh rupees as seed support, and some of the startups even get 1 crore worth of funding. And that story does not stop here. Number of our companies, in fact, for the last 3-4 years, I remember every year, one of the founders is being in the Ford 30 under 30. Every last year, we have some of the companies have raised millions of dollars, including the Kanpur Flowers and all, in the venture funding. So it's a phenomenal ecosystem for the people who are thinking of doing the startups at IIT Kanpur. Cybersecurity, there's no question that we are among the best in the country. So I invite both Professor Agrawal and Mr. Singh to come and share the challenges and opportunities for the startup in securing the digital India, and how and why the young people should form a startup and work towards the Atmanirbhar Bharat and self-reliant India. Thank you very much. I'll first request Professor Agrawal to start his address, and then we will move to Mr. Singh.
Thank you. Thank you, Nikhil. And it's a wonderful opportunity for me to be with Mr. Singh, who is the leading proponent of digitization in the country and has already achieved quite a remarkable success in implementing multiple policies. And also, I'm sure that in future, we are going to see even deeper engagement in terms of services being delivered through digital platform. I'm also very happy that about this Technology Innovation Hub that has been formed at IIT Kanpur on cybersecurity. So I'll very quickly introduce key objectives of this hub, and especially I'll focus on the opportunities for startups in cybersecurity that exist. So let me share a few slides, which I hope everybody is able to see. Are these visible?
Yes, sir.
So here is the team. Me and Professor Sandeep Shukla are two program directors. We are also professor in computer science at IIT Kanpur. But we are not really part of this company. There's a separate company which has been set up, which is headed by Dr. Nikhil Agrawal as CEO. Then Dr. Tanima Hajra is the Chief Operating Officer. Sir Ranjit is Chief Industrial Relation Officer. And Mr. Mishra is the Chief Finance Officer. The primary objective, there are multiple objectives of the Technology Innovation Hub. The first one is to do R&D in cybersecurity. And this R&D work we have grouped in 3 verticals, namely critical infrastructure, automotive systems, and UAV systems. Then the second major target is to incubate startups in cybersecurity space. Third is to collaborate with the industry in various aspects of cybersecurity, take the technology developed within the hub to the deployment stage. And fourth is also extremely important to develop professionals, to train professionals in cybersecurity domain. So I'll focus on only some of these aspects, particularly, as I said, focused on startups. Our R&D partner in this endeavor is the CyberSecurity Center, which already exists at IIT Kanpur. Then first is a Section 8 company and on IIT Kanpur campus, which is a technology business incubator. So they will, we are working with them for the development of the startup and support to the startups. And then Technopark is also on campus, another Section 8 company, which connects the industry with the campus. One of the key targets or verticals is the critical infrastructure, where there are, of course, we all are aware that a lot of important critical utilities in the country are now digitally controlled and managed, and that gives rise to the possibility of a hostile takeover or disruption of these utilities. And we would like to develop tools which can prevent that. Next vertical is automotive sector. Again, this is, although may not be as pervasive now, but it is going to become. All the things that move are getting completely connected with the network and to various being open to remotely accessed as well as manipulated. So again, the issue of securing the access to these systems become extremely important. And finally, we have the UAV systems, starting from small, tiny, short duration flights to a much larger, very almost like a aeroplane level sized systems which can fly and can be controlled remotely. And again, we would like to ensure that they are only available to authorized access. So that's the kind of very broad space in which this innovation hub is supposed to operate. Coming to the startup, our target is to incubate 125 startups over next 5 years. And for each one of these startups, we have the opportunities available in the following way. For first 2 years to the startup, 2 of the founders, or more than 2 founders, we have 12 lakh rupees set aside for supporting the salary of the founders. In addition, we have 10 lakh rupees seed grant for each selected startup. And after 2 years, once the proof of concept is successful and we this gets evaluated and established that they are likely to be successful, then we have an additional fund of can go up to 1 crore to provide to these startups. Now, besides the funding opportunity, of course, we have a world-class infrastructure on campus. Nikhil already said about the airstrip. Those working in the UAV-based security or automotive security can make use of all these facilities. And the computing systems are all kinds of are there. We have multiple test beds of power utilities, water utilities, manufacturing system. Each one of the test beds already exists on campus, so they can be used to test out the solutions and check the robustness of them. Besides, we have also a center in Noida which can provide some certain space to these startups. We have both mentorship available, technical as well as business side, thanks to this collaboration with FIRST. So essentially, we can support a startup throughout its journey to becoming successful. And that's all I have to say. And then I'll be happy to interact during Q&A session and discuss more. Thank you. I'm going to stop
Thank
share.
you. Thank you, Professor Agarwal. Maybe during the Q&A, we will request you to share more about the research activities C3i is doing, what kind of test beds you have developed, and how many, because there are certain questions already started coming. So I think we will take them during the Q&A. The people are asking about the IoT network, digital surveillance system. So maybe we'll request you to respond to those questions at the later stage. Now I would like to invite Mr. Abhishek Singh to share his views.
Yeah. I hope I. What? One second. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you for doing this, and I'm really grateful and excited to hear about the great work that IIT Kanpur is doing. And whenever I hear the great innovations of the startup hub or the cybersecurity initiative that IIT Kanpur is doing, one feels extra proud, having spent the best years of your life growing up at the campus, and fond memories, and look forward to a time when I would be actually physically be present in the campus and getting to see all the great work which is being seen, and with led by Professor Agarwal and Professor Manind and Dr. Nikhil. So it's really commendable to be, and it's an honor and privilege to be speaking at this forum with the leading lights of cybersecurity and computer science on this forum. So when we look at startups and we look at the Indian startup ecosystem, we find that India globally is one of the most fastest growing hubs as far as startups is concerned. Even in the last year, we find that 12 unicorns were added, and in the last year 1600 startups were incubated in India. And amongst the fastest growing sector, if we see, even though overall economy was sluggish and things were not looking up, but the kind of growth that we saw in the startup sector was phenomenal. And the kind of solutions that we saw coming from startups in every, whether it's e-learning, edtech, or health technologies, or building solutions for the cybersecurity, was very commendable across the country. We today have 12 unicorns which achieved that status last year. 55 more are in the pipeline, and the government also is looking forward to extending benefits of all kinds to the startups in order to ensure that we have a sustainable ecosystem and we have a thriving startup ecosystem that can build solutions not only for India but for the world. In the field of cybersecurity, when we look at, we see that that the revenue from the startups of the cybersecurity domain has gone up from in the last 5 years to almost from $275 million US dollars to $1,060 million, so almost a $1 billion industry it has become. And this is a cumulative annual growth rate of 39%, which is among the fastest we look at any sector. And today more and more as digital technologies grow in, the cybersecurity challenges also growing, and to tackle that we need more solutions. And the way we are working on with the cybersecurity division in MeitY, with the IIT Kanpur, the cybersecurity hub, and with the I4C of Ministry of Home Affairs and the CERTIN, which is the premier cybersecurity agency of India, is that how do we involve startups, how do we involve tech entrepreneurs in building solutions which can solve all the problems that we face on a daily level. So the Grand Hackathon, last year we also launched a Grand Hackathon for coming up with solutions for various problem statements. The problem statements that were identified, which included like how do we develop a system that heals itself in the case of a security compromise? How do we defend against advanced attack vectors on biometric authentication systems? Because as we have adopted more and more use of biometric, we find that the number of threats and number of attacks which come in grow up in that sector. Then assurance the security of hardware devices, products, and components. Because today, the kind of authentication that happens and the hardware level security along with the application level security is as important. The other challenges that we've been working on is how to secure against threats in IoT edge devices through programmable network elements, because that's again a sector that needs solutions. Then develop system that heals itself in case of a security compromise. Then securing microservices and services mesh architecture. Then assurance of security of hardware devices, developing. So all these solutions all these problem statements that were identified for the grand challenge. So it was launched in a 3-stage challenge round. Today, now we are in the 3rd stage. So the 12 startups who were selected, they got a cash award of 5 lakh rupees to develop a marketable product stage. So now we went to the 2nd stage, and at the 2nd stage, 6 solutions were developed, were identified, which have been given a funding support of 10 lakhs. And after the end of the 3rd round, the best startup who has developed a solution for security, for cyber security systems, will be getting a reward of 1 crore, and then another prizes of 60 lakhs and 40 lakhs. So this entire endeavor of Ministry of Electronics and IT with MSH was to ensure that we provide tangible support to startups who are working in the field of cyber security. Then the other component that we link in is that how do we ensure cybersecurity to become an integral part of any IT solution or e-governance solution that we take up. So when we are working on a AI-based solution, then while data becomes the prime focus for building up a solution or building up a modeling, how do we ensure that that data on which that helps us in building a predictive model, that data remains secure? Because if somebody plays around with that data, then the whole model will be affected. So ensuring security at all levels becomes very important. Ensuring that the right cybersecurity practices are followed becomes very critical. And when we look at cybersecurity applications within the government, what we find is that there is a lot of lack of capacity and a lot of lack of awareness with regard to the challenges that we are facing today. So we found that many government services, many government applications have vulnerabilities, and if they are not fixed, then that can result in a lot of damage. So with that in mind, the Cyber Surakshit Bharat was launched by Government of India, which seek to build in the culture of upgrading skills with regard to cyber security, which ensured that cyber and information security officers are designated in every vertical, which ensured that cyber information security trainings are conducted and skill sets are imparted so that people are able to learn what the challenges are and what are the solutions and what are the tools and what are the resources available to tackle those challenges. We also found that in the last few years, the amount of cyber crime that has grown up, especially in the digital payment sector, has really been like troublesome problem, real problematic area which needs active intervention to ensure that people don't start moving away from the digital transactions to manual transactions. So towards this objective, when we did the deep dive analysis, we found that there is a great lack of capacity, even though the laws can be framed, even though the act can be there, punishments can be prescribed, but until and unless our police officers are trained in cybersecurity and they are trained in digital forensics and cyber investigations, they will not be able to investigate such crimes. And then the other limitation that we found was that even if the best of the cyber cases are investigated by the best of the cyber police officers, but if the judiciary and the lower judiciary is not understanding what the challenges are and how these things work and how the jurisdiction becomes omnibus, like a crime can be conducted from one part of the country, another part of the country. So these things require upgrading the skill sets of not only police officers, but even judicial officers. To tackle this challenge, we have conceptualized a course on cyber investigation, cyber security, and digital forensics that we are running in, it's an online PG diploma course that we are running in partnership with NLU Bhopal. And today more than 500 officers are enrolled in that course. And it's so interesting that every weekend we have the classes on Saturdays and Sundays. And we have participations from very senior police officers, ADGP levels, right down to the sub-inspector levels. And all of them are attending the same course, and the feedback that we get is amazing. So we must think of in what ways we can collaborate with IIT Kanpur also and the expertise that exists. Can we think of having a module which can be run by the I4C Center about IIT Kanpur, which can look into practical applications with regard to cybersecurity, which can have impact in updating the skills of the police officers and judicial officers and other government departments in the days to come. So that's one potential area of partnership that we can look at in the days to come. The other thing that I would like to mention again is that I must compliment IIT Kanpur for the startup challenge that you have launched, the call for applications, which is on and which will end on 15th of March. I am sure it will give a lot of opportunity to the cybersecurity startups for proposing solutions that can really help us in becoming us more secure from the cybersecurity point of view. So these are the first few thoughts that I wanted to mention, and if there are any questions, I'd be willing to join in the next round.
Thank you very much, Abhishek ji. I think that you are absolutely right. the vulnerabilities that exist in the government are immense. There's no question about it. And the more and more dependence we are having on the digital India and on the apps, the whole infrastructure, citizen infrastructure, government infrastructure, industry infrastructure is built up on those applications. We need to be more vigilant than ever. The connectivity always bring the collaborative and communication, but the connectivity also brings the huge challenges and huge issues, the issue of privacy, issues of data threat, issues of financial insecurity, hundreds of things which are there. So let me have, I have a few questions. Maybe we can first request the Professor Agrawal to answer those questions, and then a couple of questions that even the attendees are asking, we will pose them to the other speakers. So sir, please tell us more about the research that you do, what kind of test labs has been developed, how the critical infrastructure, you mentioned about what is the role the IIT Kanpur is playing in securing the critical infrastructure, and how the startups can participate in those activities and benefit from the infrastructure that is available with IIT Kanpur. Sir, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Currently, the projects that are going on at IIT Kanpur are one focused on protection of critical infrastructure, wherein we have created a entire power system distribution utility. Then there is a water distribution utility. There is a industrial manufacturing plant setup. And each one of these, the entire test bed is there. There are the SCADA systems which control them. And these systems are also available now for entire vulnerability analysis. These are commercial grade systems. There is exact replica of the systems that are deployed anywhere. So these are now analyzed, can be analyzed, and weaknesses found. In fact, over the last 2 years, 2.5 years, we have found 12 major vulnerabilities in the systems that exist, and also informed manufacturers. So that kind of work is already being done, and we welcome any startup who is registered with us to use these test beds to try out their solutions and see where it goes. We also have we are also developing a malware repository, in addition to developing a learning-based tool which can detect malwares, even the new malwares, instead of just going by the fingerprint-based detection, through behavior-based detection of malware, so that even if a new malware is created, it can be identified. The third aspect we are focusing on is on the side of cryptanalysis. So in terms of given encryption algorithms, to analyze and see what the weaknesses exist in them and how to address those weaknesses. So this work is, as I said, already happening in IIT Kanpur, but I must emphasize that as we go into the future, we are looking to expand the work very significantly, not just vertically, but also horizontally. So bring in much wider topic. In fact, our eventual target is to cover all aspects of cybersecurity.
Okay. I think this is fantastic. One thing which I would like to highlight to all the participants is that as per the policy of IIT Kanpur, any incubating companies or startup which is there with us, they will have the full access to all the labs, all the infrastructure in exactly the same manner as the faculty member of IIT Kanpur. So there's no difference between a faculty and a startup when it comes to accessing the labs. So that kind of advantage and the advantage we give it to our startups, like so that they have best possible facilities available to them. There are a couple of questions which have started coming. So I'll read out one or two questions. I think one question was that we are a startup in cybersecurity. How do we approach you? So I have put in one link in the chat box. You can go online. You can go to either c3ihub.org. There is information there, or you can go to our incubator's website where the application is open for the startups. You can apply there. So it's a simple application. Then the process of accepting an application is that once you apply to us, then we evaluate you, and if you are worthy to be presented in front of independent jury, then you will be presented in front of independent jury, and then the process is quite simple. Then we help you in, if your company is not formed, then we help you in forming a company, and etc. etc. There is another question which is by Ashwini Singh, which in fact goes to both the panelists. Sir, cybersecurity for IoT networks and digital surveillance system. It also includes the three categories mentioned above. So first, I'll request Professor Agrawal to speak on the cybersecurity of IoT network, the digital surveillance system, and then I request Mr. Abhishek Singh to throw more light about digital surveillance systems and how we are deploying in Government of India.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes, we will consider proposals in IoT security and digital surveillance system security, because even though they may not be included in the verticals that I mentioned, we are looking at least for now, to cover all aspects of cybersecurity.
So Abhishek ji, can you throw more light about that, how the digital surveillance system is being implemented in Government of India, what challenges being faced, and how the startups can resolve those challenges?
See, digital surveillance systems are applied wherever they are needed. See, as a government, surveillance is normally regarded to be something which is the government should not do. So normally surveillance is required only when there is a security threat involved, and then we have systems built in to capture any abnormal behavior than what is normally happening. So if there is an IT system and we see some unusual activity, if we see some accessing of our servers or something from places which are not normal, and there are dedicated agencies like the CERTIN, which is our cybersecurity agency, that keeps on monitoring our critical assets. So if there is suppose a nuclear power plant and there is IT systems of that, if we see that somebody is trying to access the system or try to break into the system from outside the country or from our friendly neighborhood, then there will be alerts which will be raised. So that's what that is built in, or transportation systems or other critical infrastructure systems. So that's where the protocols are defined. They are defined in the cyber information security offices. So that's where it largely comes in, and there are experts who are who look into that. There are protocols which are defined for hardware level security, the software level security, the application, the database level security, and all conform to that. And that's what we primarily mean when we say to ensure a robust digital surveillance for all our systems. And the same thing is done by financial institutions, banks, in order to ensure that our whatever assets we have remain safe and secure.
Thank you very much, sir. So one more question has come from Partha Majumdar, which I will answer, which says that to make our proposal meaningful, can I get hold of some data from C3i? I have 31 years in IT software industry. Certainly the data, I'm not sure about what data you need from us, but certainly if you need our help, I'm requesting my colleague who is there with me, Mr. Ranjit Mishra, to put his email ID. You can write to Mr. Ranjit Mishra. He will be delighted to give any answer or support, whatever is needed.
Yeah, Nikhil, can I add there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. He's looking at some of the inputs in terms of setting up his proposal. So any technical input, probably will be happy to support him there.
Sure. Thank you. Now there is another very interesting question to both the speakers. What is the standard in cryptocurrency? Do you think that there is a futuristic approach for better security?
Well, cryptocurrency as let's say it's just another form of money, and as per the current policies of Reserve Bank of India, I think the government is planning to bring a cryptocurrency, and that would certainly allow another mode of money exchange. As regard to security, I don't think it is any more or less secure than the current forms of currency. The great thing or the reason why cryptocurrencies today are so popular is a certain amount of anonymity they offer. Now it's a debatable question whether that's a good thing or bad thing. So I'll just leave it at that.
I know, so the government of India has some official stance on cryptocurrency, but Mr. Singh, if you would like to answer something more technical or something, what the startup should do when it comes to cryptocurrency.
He's on a call.
Yeah, I think that he's on the call, Nikhil.
Okay.
He said he's logged in, but he's on the call.
No problem.
For next few minutes.
So we will raise this question once again once he joins back.
Sure.
So another question is again for Professor Agarwal: how the existing startups or companies leverage from the programs testbed being developed at C3i Hub.
So there has to be some kind of association with IIT Kanpur in order to use these facilities. So what I would suggest is to reach out to either Ranjit or Nikhil, and we can then see how best to develop that relationship, and then so that we can make available these test beds too.
Yeah, I would also like to add there, Nikhil. So Vineet, basically, you can also leverage our call for proposal. You can also participate in our entrepreneurship program. So we also, it's not only for the early stage, but also existing startups. So you can basically apply for our startup program.
There's another question which says, are there programs that address the evolving government and or international policy, how it affects the design of cyber physical system? Can you throw some light on the same?
So evolving government policies, you mean? Is that the question?
Yes, evolving government and international policies, how it affects the design of cyber physical systems. I think he means to say that there is any policy exist.
Yeah, I mean, these policies certainly affect this design of cybersecurity aspect. For example, a policy that bans cryptocurrencies will completely, junk all the efforts towards developing secure cryptocurrency. So the policies do have an impact. However, as of today, I don't think there is a lot of policies that exist in this space. And for now, there are so many low-hanging fruits which are independent of the policy. Simple mechanisms to secure, because security hasn't been built in the existing systems. So one has to bring on tools which can secure them. So for now, I would say that the policy issues don't have that major an impact in cybersecurity solutions. In future, yes, but not now.
So I think there is a lot of understanding that is being developed as we go along in terms of the need for cybersecurity, and cybersecurity definition is also changing because the adaptability of, like, in fact, what you see today, the most important discussion points for the last few months is about the security by the big tech, the data usage and the privacy issue by the big tech. Yesterday, the Australian government has passed the legislation that now the big tech has to pay for the news. So certainly more, I would say, opportunities as well as the new aspects will emerge out of it. Because suddenly one government which follows one step that may not be international policy at one point of time, but as soon as the other governments start following similar steps, it becomes an international policy. Today morning, if you read the newspaper, there is a guideline which the government has issued regarding the handling of the news items. So how will be affect you? Because earlier we have seen that different kind of issues were raised. I will not take the name because it's not a political debate. Number of whether it's left leaning, right leaning, but how those news items will be raised, and then everything is related to privacy and security as we go along. Yes.
Yeah,
So
Nikhil,
there
can
is
I
another.
take another question?
Yes, yes.
From Balachandra. Probably I can answer that. So we have started a Center for Cyber Security in Manipal Academy of Higher Education. Is there any collaboration opportunity with you? If so, in what way? So Balchandra, I know in the current scenario, C3i Center at IT Kanpur is offering 6 months course, professional course in cybersecurity. And we have a tremendous comprehensive curriculum in cybersecurity. And we'll be more than happy to tie up and collaborate with Manipal Academy in whatever way we can. So yes, probably you can reach out to me. I'll put an email ID to you privately, and you can reach out to me for further discussions.
I think next question is also similar. Mr. Sunil has asked, yes, we will be delighted to seek your help. You can again reach out to Mr. Ranjit. Then another question is from Ashwini. So there are also any threat models or threat checker libraries available from IITK as open source to any of the mobile or web application which can be used by any startup in your incubator to catch vulnerabilities in their application?
We don't. We have some threat models, yes, but they are more related to the modeling the threats to the critical infrastructure. What I would suggest is, in case you have something specific in mind, to reach out to us, and we can have a look at it and then respond to the more specific answer.
So Prasoon has asked one question. Our startup is catering to a blue collar workers, 40 million base, very impressive. Can we be with IITK cybersecurity audit framework, a monthly, quarterly, and digital course on for this user base to educate them? Definitely yes. There is now 1 billion people which are online within India. So certainly the more education, and at the same time, there is a again news item which came that the people who have made money during the COVID time was the cyber criminals. So certainly it's very, very important for people to be aware about it, that how they can safeguard themselves, how they can safeguard their devices, how they can safeguard their data. So Mr. Singh is back. So I have one question which is pending for him. Abhishek ji, one question was asked regarding the cryptocurrency. I know there is a government stand on it, but there is something which you would like to share as a CEO of Digital India Corporation, and the thought process, how the cyber security of cryptocurrency and what future it holds for Indian startups.
Cryptocurrency are there. Like even though government of India has come up with a policy saying that we have banned all private currencies except for maybe a official cryptocurrency, but then banning doesn't solve the problem. So I think we need to appreciate how it works. We need to think how it can be regulated. And right now there are fears associated with the cryptocurrencies with the kind of volatility that we see in there. But once we are able to create robust regulatory mechanisms, we will be able to handle it, and then it will become part of the practices that are prescribed by RBI or any other financial institutions. So cryptocurrencies, at present the policy may be to not allow any cryptocurrency other than the official one, but over a period of time there will be a system which will develop, which will ensure who will be the authorized cryptocurrency operators, in what way they will operate, what kind of oversight mechanism will be there, who will be authorized to issue it, in what ways they can be traded. So those regulations will have to come. Necessary awareness regarding them at all levels, wherever they are to be regulated, will have to be built in, and then only we will be able to get into a stable regime of cryptocurrencies. So it's not there right now, but in 3 to 5 years, I think we'll have a time in which cryptocurrencies will become a valid form of tender in some form. Yeah.
Very good. One more question which I have is that you mentioned about the Cyber Surakshit Bharat. So I think this is a program launched in 2018. Then how we have progressed and what are the new avenues which are opening up under Cyber Surakshit Bharat?
See, Cyber Surakshit Bharat, the objective is multifold. The objective is to strengthen the cyber security practices within the government, ensure that there are sufficient people with the necessary skill sets, ensure that our systems are secure, and at the same time, ensure that citizens are also aware of the risks of cybersecurity and how they can remain safe on the web and on the internet. So towards this objective, one component is of course the CSO training programs that we have launched in partnership with several training institutions, and a lot of CISO trainings have been held by MeitY for various state governments, for various government departments. Almost 300 odd CISOs across the country have been trained. They have been given exposure trips. They have been subjected to what all threats there are that they are there. Police officers have been given trainings on dark web and what are the kind of things that are there, how cyber crime, people indulging in cyber crime, the cyber criminals operate, what are the best practices regarding that, how cyber investigation agencies can collaborate. We have a running program in partnership with the government of the United States, wherein with their cyber security teams, we do something called Cyber Storm, in which simulations are done, in which attacks are, in which we trying to build up a model in which attacks are there, and then we try to see how robust our systems are as part of making citizens aware, which is a very important component. There is a program which is on the lines of Jago Grahak Jago, in order to ensure that citizens are being made aware that what are the best practices for digital payments, how to stay safe online, what are the risks associated with children who are online, what is the sexual crimes which are conducted online, how women are subjected to exploitation, then what is the mechanism to report a crime, how you can report to certain, how cyber police jurisdiction operates. So these are several components, several programs that the ministry has launched in partnership with certain, in partnership with the I4C Center in Ministry of Home, to ensure that the most robust practices are there. Then there are the group of people who look into how various apps are functioning, if there are any apps which are indulging in espionage, if there are apps which are trying to steal data of citizens, if there are any efforts which are being made to compromise national security. In fact, some action has been taken against some such apps last year, in which the access to them were blocked under 69A. Yesterday, the intermediary guidelines are also issued, which will also go a long way in ensuring that people's security when they are online, or when they are on web, or when they are doing digital transactions, or when they are on social media, is protected and secured. So the Cyber Surakshit Bharat works on all these pillars, and it works in close partnership with experts, with institutions like IIT Kanpur, in order to ensure that we have sufficient capability in enhancing the cyber security strength of the nation.
Nikhil, there is one question I would like to take.
I will just respond to that, what
Sure.
Shiji has said.
Sure.
I think this is excellent. Even the points that you have listed about 20 points that how this Cyber Surakshit Bharat is doing, I can think of 10 companies each in every point. Very easily you can create 200 companies, guys, like just if you are listening very carefully what Mr. Singh has said. So a lot of people say that there is not enough opportunity. I can say that you have to just hear it carefully. There is an opportunity in every word, that if you really want to take it up. So certainly thanks a lot for, and I'm sure when the CEO of Digital India himself is saying that this is what his government is doing. So if you come with a such certain solution, he and other officers will be delighted to welcome you, and you can implement this solution not only in the government but also in the industry. So thanks a lot for this. Yes, Ranjit.
Yeah, Sunil Kankal is asking, is there any limitation to the age of founders in startup into cybersecurity? I think so. There is no age limit. Probably, Nikhil, you can clarify on this. In terms of the age limit.
No, there is innovation does not come in package of age. So the only thing is that if you are below 18, by the law, that you have your father or your somebody has to form a company. You cannot form a company. Otherwise, we have In fact, we have one company at our incubator where the young boy of 15 years is forming a company. Of course, his mother is now as a guardian. She is the major shareholder, but as soon as he turn 18, he can be. And people as old as like 50 years, 55 years, 60 years, they are forming companies. So I still remember the movie Bagban. So the way the Amitabh Bachchan has projected that there is no age to write book. So same way there is no age to write, to do the innovation. One more question which has come up from Satish Prasad. I think thanks a lot, first of all, to attendees there. You have been very, very active attendees. I think we require 1 more hour to just read out your questions. There are 22 new questions waiting to be answered. Let's see how many we can tackle. Sir, what data sets related to automotive security already available, which helps develop meaningful ML model to detect threats and self-healing systems?
So this automotive security work is primarily, as of now, happening in IIT Kharagpur, with whom we have a partnership. If there is an interest in knowing more about it, we'll be happy to connect you to the relevant group in IIT Kharagpur, and they can share the data sets that are available, the information about the data set that exists. We can take it from there.
Okay, thank you. So there is another question which says from Biswaranjan that there are career paths for the people. Believe me, if you do something in cybersecurity today, so there is no dearth of jobs. If you are just looking for a job, there is not enough people. As Mr. Singh himself said, under the Cyber Surakshit Bharat, every department, every state government, the city government has to come up with their own plan, with their own people who would securing their infrastructure. The dependency on our critical infrastructure is everything is there, from electricity to metro, everything works on a network which has to be secured. So there is enough career path for people. A couple of more questions are there. There is Mr. Sandeep Shukla has asked one question to Mr. Abhishek Singh. What's your view on the new cybersecurity strategy that is coming up?
Yeah, see, as I already mentioned, the new cybersecurity strategy, the basic objective is to ensure a couple of things, ensure that how we are secure from threats, from all kinds of threats, from across the borders, from threats from, because we all know most of our cyber attacks that emerge from across the border. So how do we ensure that we protect our systems, especially our critical infrastructure and our systems from them? Number two, how do we ensure the domestic threats, which is primarily on digital payments and trying to hack data, those threats are addressed. Number three, how do we ensure that the cyber and information security policies of not only government departments but corporations are also strengthened? Very often we are critiqued, like when the Aadhaar database was being built up, there are a lot of privacy champions and people who were wanting to say that data will not be secure, raised questions and raised challenges. But in the last 10 years, the database of Aadhaar has been secure. Whereas when we look at many of our partners in the private sector, like there was some story about Citibank losing a lot of credit card data. Then we had reports of Big Basket losing data. We have reports of Zomato losing passwords and all data. So we have to ensure that we build a culture wherein systems are secured not only in the government but also in every other entity where we share our important data, our personal data and our financial data. Banks have to be secured. So cyber information security practices in corporations, in banks, financial institutions, other IT service providers have to be of the best order. So because that's very critical, and there are people who are looking to fish into that data and do that. And the last and not the least is how do we educate people about the best cybersecurity practices. In India, very often people do not understand what it means to share your CVV or your OTPs. They very often share it on emails or passwords, or don't practice the right protocols for having the passwords. A lot of cyber crimes happen. But we all have heard of a place called Jamtara, from where so many crimes emerge, and how people are being defrauded by sending QR codes, which instead of trying to get money, debits money from your account. So educating that is part of the cyber Surakshit strategy, and working with cyber experts, working with the international governments, and working with the academic experts. This whole strategy is being put into action, and I'm sure with such partnerships and such collaborations, we'll be able to realize the objective of the cyber strategy that we have, of keeping ourselves secure from both international threats, national threats, and in generally enhancing the cyber awareness of the common man. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think very comprehensive answer. Sandeep ji, you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to thank him.
Okay.
Thank you.
There is another question from Mr. Sandeep Shah. We are representing a few startups in cybersecurity space. Can your platform permit out to carry the POC? So that's something which, again, to go to Professor Agrawal.
I don't understand this question.
He's saying that we are representing few US startups in cybersecurity space. Can your platform permit, and in fact, platform, they said that center permit to carry out the POCs?
So, okay, so they want to use our test beds.
Test beds, yeah.
So, like I said, that there has to be some kind of partnership with this C3i Hub in order to use the facilities. And what contours that partnership would take? One, we have already announcing that there is a startup which is incubated at the hub, then of course they have access to everything. But if the partnership is to take a distinct, different form, it could be simply like an industry coming to campus and having an MOU with us for collaboration, joint development, and then it can be used. So that particular form or structure, I would suggest, can be discussed if you connect to us. I think either with Nikhil or Ranjit, and then.
Okay. There's another question has come regarding the human firewall. Do you have a team to strategically build a new program on strengthening the human firewall, where our company will be data futurity will be fully available to prepare the robust program? So again, Professor Agrawal, do we have interest in human firewall?
Human firewall?
Yeah, he says human firewall. That's I'm also trying to understand. Do you have a team
I think he means a firewall only. So build up by.
Just given a link, we will have to see what it is, and then we can.
Human firewall is basically the idea that every human being will be sufficiently made aware and trained so that they can suggest blacklisting of links and blacklisting of IP addresses, etc., which will then be added to a global firewall blocking list and something after due consideration. That would create basically what we call human firewall. So it would require plugins in our browsers and other things. So yeah, we are interested in this.
I think yes, Sandeep ji, thanks a lot for. I think the Sunil has already responded saying that that's correct. Sandeep Shukla ji, thanks a lot. So Prasoon has asked one question. Abhishek ji's statement has cleared a lot of doubts. Can a startup like us integrate with CERT-like agency to do regular cyber audits for blue-collar workers? I think I can even answer in the behalf of Abhishek ji that certainly there are opportunity exists for every startup to work with the government. If you have a solution, there is a buyer or there is a collaborator that exists.
Yeah, in fact, just to add to what Dr. Nikhil has said, that CERT-in and STQC, both these agencies who do cybersecurity audit of, so they empanel agencies for doing cybersecurity. So they already have a list of empaneled agencies for doing cyber audits for various IT projects and initiatives. So whenever the next round of empanelment is on, startups who have expertise in that are most welcome to apply there. And now with if you are a startup which is empaneled with DIPP, there are concessions available. You are exempted from the EMD, you are exempted from the experience turnover. So a lot of concessions that the government has extended to the startups sector. So all those concessions will also be available in such empanelment processes.
So there's another question, Abhishek, for you. Can you confirm if Digital Information Security in Healthcare Act, DISHA, been implemented? Are there any policy or law that government is planning to bring for data security and privacy, something like a General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR?
The PDP bill is at the final stages of finalization. So data security is if you look at the NDHM portal, the data security policy and the data management policy is notified there. So if you look at that, you'll get all your answers with regard to data security of health data. And now that we are under the part of NDHM, we are moving to the regime of electronic health records. The importance of having secure health data and ensuring privacy of that data becomes very important. So the data security and data management policy, which is available on the NDHM portal, will clarify all the doubts. And they have adopted the best of the standards, international standards, when it comes to ensuring security and privacy of health data.
There is one, I think, straightforward question. Do we have a website where government RFPs are published?
Most RFPs are published on the websites of the government, wherever they are there. On e-procurement portal, all departments follow e-procurement. So if you go to e-procurement.gov.in, you get all the tenders which are floated there.
There's one more question. Many banking and financial services businesses in India still share significant personal identifying information without due precaution for data security. Example, asking CCD list and pending all PIs, which can be abused by all recipients. Is there a cybersecurity reporting hotline email where we can report this?
Shantanu Sharma.
Yes.
Many banking officials still share. Yeah, see, if there is any breach of security, the certain site has an incident reporting system. So the email is given there. So you can always report it there on the incident reporting system on the certain website.
Okay, so there's another question which for us, is there any policy for people who are working somewhere else and want to start a company along with the job? Chances are that your original company may not allow you to do a startup. So most of the companies have the no competition policy, and you have to work full time. In your contract, it will be full time. You can start thinking about your company, but actually when you form a company, you have to get an NOC from your parent company, or you may have to leave the job. Or there are certain companies which allow you to do a startup. There are some new age companies which are doing that, but you have to check with your HR of your own company first.
I think his connection is gone.
Hello. Yeah. Do we have plan to empanel cybersecurity expert and professional filter our nation from crowd of competition? I think there are already tons of experts which works and professional works. But if you have something better to offer, please, I'm sure the government will be delighted to seek your services. So we have few minutes left before we close the session. So if you have any questions pending, please do post it now. Meanwhile, I will request our panelists to give a closing remark on today's webinar and something they wish to share. I'll start with Mr. Abhishek Singh, and then we'll go to Professor Agarwal.
In fact, it's been a very informative session, and to listen to Professor Agarwal and Dr. Nikhil and Dr. Sandeep, and to hear the queries and the suggestions, very insightful. I must thank all the participants for coming up with interesting queries that made me think also, that made me reflect also, and that kind of gave us like what more we need to do in order to make ourselves more safe and secure. And the best part that I like is that there are so many people who are willing to join this fight again on cybersecurity, the questions with regard to whether they can be empaneled, whether they can do something along with their job. This shows the urge and this shows the desire of people to contribute to this cause, because this is very, very important. So we are a country of solution providers, and we have technology has been our skill set. So cybersecurity is also, we have a great future ahead. So getting this feedback and the kind of hackathons and the kind of contests that are coming and the kind of RFP that are being floated, I am sure we'll have a fair degree of competition with all these experts who are willing to build the best possible solutions to make India more secure. So thank you once again, IIT Kanpur, for organizing this. It has been an absolute pleasure to interact on this panel.
Thank you very much, Abhishek ji. Professor Agrawal, your closing remarks.
Abhishek ji, that it's been such a wonderful experience to interact with all the participants. They are very so. What this shows is that there is a clear desire in many people to come work in this space. That is very welcome, because by any criteria, India is not at all on top of the managing its cybersecurity of its be it services, be it financial or any other stuff. What we are doing is essentially we are importing technology and deploying it. Now, with respect to cybersecurity, there is always this big question mark that if you import technology, can you completely trust it? And past evidence indicates that you cannot. And that's why we need to develop our own solution. We must have. That's where the young innovators come in, and they have to step up, create this solution. Our technology hub's job is really to act as a platform, encourage them, guide them, mentor them to achieve their potential, and that's what we would aim to do over the next several years. And we just welcome anybody who has an interest to come and apply to this call, and then we'll hopefully be able to work with you. Thank you.
So I certainly want to say, Sir Professor Agrawal and Mr. Singh, it's been a lovely audience, very, very active audience. Number of times we see the audience does not ask too many questions, but it's a very active audience, and that shows that we have a potential to become #1 in cybersecurity. I think we lost the bus when we were building the product and we become the service nation for IT services. But now the bus is again come to our, where we can ride that bus, and India can become #1 in cybersecurity products in the world. And it all, there is nobody better, people like Manindra Agrawal and Abhishek Singh and Sandeep Shukla have also joined in to guide you and to lead this activity. So my request is, please come forward and do something creative for your own country, for yourself and for community. So thanks a lot for being there. And now I will request my colleague, Mr. Ranjit Mishra, to offer a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Nikhil. So Professor Manindra Agrawal, our Program Director, C3i Hub, Shri Abhishek Singh, CEO, MD, Digital India Corporation, Professor Sandeep Shukla, Program Director, C3i Hub, Dr. Nikhil Agrawal, CEO, C3i Hub, and first, and our most valued invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I, on behalf of C3i Hub and entire team at IIT Kanpur, would like to extend a very hearty vote of thanks and gratitude to our distinguished panelists for their valuable time and sharing with us their perspective today. Would also like to thank each and every participant who had taken out time to explore synergies with us. We wish and would like to plan many such webinars in future and request you to be part of it. Again, thank you all for attending today's inaugural webinar organized by us. And we would like to address all your questions, hopefully, meanwhile. And I'll also share my contact details with each one of you so that we can take this journey forward and work together. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you all.